Salutations, folks. Another episode of Inside Indiana Volleyball coming your way. I'm Pierce Cavanaugh, joined by Sherry Dunbar. Coach, coming off a weekend with two matches against a couple different types of opponents. Let's start with Wisconsin, because that was a match that you guys had a nice handle on, especially early on, and then they battled back. It was a nice back and forth with them eventually taking it. What did you see from your team just coming out of the gate, playing as strong as they did?
Well, I was really happy. I thought we prepared really well for Wisconsin, watched a lot of film, thought the kids were prepared to play. And, something we've really been struggling with is our starts, in sets. And I thought in all four sets we had good starts and got good leads and felt in control, and mainly that was because of our passing. I thought our passing kept us in system quite a bit of the time. We were able to run a lot of play patterns that we wanted to run. So I was really happy with, kind of the direction we were going. And then, the first set we fought back and won 25-23, which was great. Second set we were up, I think, 17-12 and then maybe 20-16, and felt like we were in real control, and then just couldn't finish them off in that second set. And I thought that was huge. That would have been a huge momentum for us, just to go into the locker room up 2-0 against, Wisconsin, who's ranked 15th in the country. But we didn't, but I still felt like in the third set we came out, got a lead again. Fourth set, had a big lead again at the beginning of the set. So our finishing was not what we wanted it to be. That sense of urgency, I thought we score watched a lot and kind of looked up and we're like, oh, okay, we got to get to 25. Like, how do we get to, instead of kind of just focusing in on the process of this point, this job, this is what I have to do. And I think if we could have really stayed a little bit more composed, maybe like we did against Michigan State, and just kind of played in the moment and not worried so much about, what, if they were catching up, how far ahead we were, how far until we got to 25. I think that would have helped us a great deal.
It seems like that's the hardest thing about volleyball, especially in the Big Ten Conference, where you're playing tough teams every time you go out, not looking at the score as something where, okay, now we just have to get these 5 more and we have to stop them from getting the 8. But how do you do that where you actually focus from point to point to point? Is that a skill set that you have to develop?
Yeah, I do think it's a skill set. We've done things in practice in different years where we just don't have a scoreboard. We just play match and they don't really even know what the score is, just to get them to focus on just what they're doing on the court, and not the score is the score. When it gets to 25, we'll let you know and we're done, but really that's not your job to watch the score. So, and it's an experience thing. The older kids definitely understand it a little better than the younger kids. They see it and they're like, oh, we're up, or we're down, and there's definitely an emotion that comes with that, and a sense of panic sometimes. If you make a couple errors in a row and you see them catching up, then you get a little softer and a little safer with what you're doing instead of staying as aggressive as you were. Maybe because you're afraid to make errors or whatever that might be. But we've made some steps. I'm happy with. I thought we played well against Wisconsin. There was a lot of things we did really well, and it was an entertaining match. But I just thought we had a lot of options to win that match, and I would have liked to see us kind of push that after Michigan State and playing at home to find that win.
You talked about the older players a second ago. Jordan Haverly, chief among those. She had an outstanding match, especially in the first 2 sets against Wisconsin without an attacking error. Just what did you see from her where it seemed like she was a lot more aggressive, pounding the ball, getting it down, and Wisconsin didn't have much of an answer for her at all?
Well, I thought she was going for it. I think we've worked on offense a lot in practice, and we'll continue to do that because that's a big key for us, obviously. Our defense has gotten better, with our block touches and being able to kind of transition out, and we'll work on that a lot this week. But offensively, we tried to give our outsides more shot selections, and seeing hands in practice to hit off outside hands, and maybe a little thumb down, inside the middle blocker. And I thought she really took that to heart, and number one, just went for it, and just took big rips at the ball, but also found a lot of those shot selections we've been working on. So give her credit that she just stepped up. The last 3 matches really has stepped up and been kind of the player she used to be, and it's nice to see her, kind of finish things off like that and put a lot of the offense on her shoulders right now. Now if we get our middles back into it and get their hitting percentage back up, that would help us a great deal, because they went through a lot of matches, big stretch where they were hitting over 300 every match, and now they've kind of, gone down a little bit. So we got to get them back up, and Morgan has, consistently been in the high 200s, and and we'll take that right now, and we need to get her more swings and more involved, because really her hitting percentage, a lot of it's coming from hitting some middle balls and serve receive, but we need to get her a little bit better on the pin, hitting the 9 ball.
And interesting that you talk about all these different dynamics offensively. I want to take it back to the girls stirring the straw, Megan Tallman. You saw a matchup between two of the better freshman setters in the Big Ten. Megan playing against Lauren Carlini. Just what do you see from the passing there on either side? Obviously, she's a freshman still trying to improve, but she also made some good decisions with the ball out there.
She is. We have got to work this week on her connections with the hitters. But I think she's doing a much better job of making critical decisions at the right time. And that's something, and Carlini, you see that. I think she's a much different player than the first time we played her. And that's what you see out of a lot of the freshmen right now, and even the sophomores. You see them kind of growing. And maybe, as a lot of the freshmen, you have to realize they're getting ready for the state tournament in high school right now in Indiana, right? We're just starting the second round of Big Ten. So the season is so much longer at Division I level than they've ever played. So mentally and physically, this is going to be a big challenge for them, and just the workload and all that is totally different than high school. So you see them increasing, and you kind of see a roller coaster out of them a little bit. We're going to have to stay with them a lot right now and really keep them focused on what they need to be doing, because this is a huge transition for them. But as far as Megan just being able to run the offense right now, I think she's doing a very good job, and she seems very, very motivated, watching a lot more film lately, and really motivated to get better every day.
Good to hear from a freshman trying to get better in the Big Ten. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to go to Nancy Mueller, a head recruiting coordinator for Indiana Volleyball. Nancy's always got some good stuff. We'll cut to that now, and we'll return with some of your thoughts. Joining Nancy Mueller, one of the IU assistant coaches. Coach, thanks for joining us on short notice, admittedly.
You're welcome.
Sitting in an expansive office, want to hear a little bit about your background, just what you did before coming to Indiana, and how that prepared you coming in your current role on this coaching staff.
I have been coaching for 20 years. I was an assistant coach at Iowa State University and at the University of Houston before I became the head coach at University of South Florida, and then the head coach at University of Illinois in Chicago. So I was a head coach for 10 years, had very successful seasons there, but my main goal was always to be at a Big Ten school and living in the Midwest.
So is that something that as soon as you came to Indiana, it was sort of a coming to fruition of what your goals had been coming in as a coach?
Yes. I grew up in Big Ten country a little bit, so I had been a fan of volleyball in the Big Ten for a long time, and knew that one of my career goals was to coach in the Big Ten.
So now you're here. What are you doing with this coaching staff? What are some of your outlined responsibilities as you try and produce for this program?
My main responsibility is recruiting. I'm on the road quite a bit. I recruit 2 to 3 nights out of the week, sometimes during season, which is a little tough, but I really enjoy it. I really am proud of who I represent. Indiana is a very prideful university, and we have a lot to be proud of here with the program. So I enjoy that aspect of it. So I'm out in the community a lot, and I'm out just across the different states here in the Midwest, mostly drivable things, matches and stuff. But I also am in charge of the academics for our current student athletes, and just checking on them and making sure that they are doing what needs to be done in the classroom.
Is it something where you have so much experience at this thing? I know that even on some of the road trips that you have to join us midway. You're one of the hardest working people, obviously, on this staff with a lot of hard workers. But you take a look at just how you do that. How does that translate, do you think, into what you try and bring to this program on a regular basis?
Well, I think it really translates. First of all, everybody on this staff here, right, is working very hard, but I think it really translates into the relationships that we build with the players, and it starts there with the trust and what that gives them support all the time with what they're trying to do here at Indiana once they get here. So I'm kind of the initial evaluator of them, but it also kind of gives us an in with how to meet parents and just kind of really build that relationship with them, so there's a comfort level if their child does decide to come here, that they know that there's always a resource here for them. So from that perspective, I think it's great that I get to make that initial contact, but then I get to develop great relationships with the kids.
And it is a good story. Watching you interact with the girls is always fun during the road trips, and it's a consistent pleasure to be traveling with you, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach,
Thank you.
not a problem, Coach. Thanks for the time.
Sure.
Back to the studio. Thanks for that, Nancy. Coach Nancy Mueller has been on the staff for the same amount of time Paul has. We talked to him a little earlier this year. Just the dynamic that they both bring, and Nancy in particular, having just talked with her.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Paul, and it's very similar with Nancy. They've both been head coaches, so they have that experience under their belt and realize that the things they're very, very good at, Nancy's very good at recruiting, Paul's very good at training and film and things like that. And so to be able to have them in that primary position that they love so much is really showing, I think. Nancy is just a workhorse on the road, tons, like every other recruiting coordinator in the Big Ten, and never complains, just understands that that is her job, and it is how we make this program get better every year, is bringing in better and better recruits. That's the name of the game. I think everybody can coach in this league, but you have to get the horses, to play at this level, because we see, how many teams, 8 ranked or 10 getting votes, out of 12. You can have a lot of good players, but you need 1 or 2 blue chip players in order to get to the next level, and she understands that and works at it very hard every day.
Interesting to see that. We'll get a good look at some blue chip players later this week too, as we go to Penn State. I want to get first your thoughts on Ohio State, with some thoughts on Penn State tossed in there too. The two teams trending in different directions, and Ohio State coming up first. What are you looking to see on Friday, I believe, as you go to Columbus?
No, that was a close match. Obviously, we lost 15-17 in the 5th set at home against Ohio State. So we need to take a little revenge on that and go into that with that attitude. I think we can match up them fairly well. Playing on the road is always tough, and we're on the road the next 2 weeks, so we're going to have to embrace the road a little bit like we have in the past, and understand that we just have to keep getting better every day. But I thought against Ohio State, I thought we passed really well. I thought our offense was pretty good against them, and I thought we competed at a really high level. So for a long period of time, it was a great match. It really was. So we need to come into that with that mentality of, the things we've done really well, the starts, and we need to be able to finish, and we need to be able to serve and pass really well at a different gym. They play in St. John's, which is expansive compared to University Gym, so we're going to have to get used to that again every year when we go in there and have a good, day of practice before we play them.
Then having the chance to play Penn State, a team that you're looking to improve on some things that you did against them last year.
Penn State, to be honest, is a different level. Penn State is just playing their best volleyball right now, and I thought Minnesota was the same way. They've kind of turned the corner and really taken it up a notch. And, the scores that Penn State has right now and their hitting percentage and what they're doing to their opponents, obviously they're playing very, very well. So we're going to have to play at our highest level to compete with them. But we look at that as an opportunity. You're going to play a team that maybe, could be a national champion, could be a Final Four participant, and hopefully they go deep in the tournament. They're a Big Ten team, but it gives us an opportunity to really put ourselves against that and see what we can do against it. So, I always look forward to playing Penn State. I mean, that's the reason we all came into this league, is to play the very best and to see where you are and kind of where you stack up with those type of teams. You have to play them, and you have to play them with no fear. Because if you go in and you show a little bit of fear, or you show a little bit of just, kind of crazy in your mind, like, wow, it's Penn State, they just crush you. So you have to go in and just
they have some
let them
practice
loose.
doing that.
Absolutely, and they've done it in the past with a lot of teams. So you just have to go in and be you and just say, okay, I'm going to let it loose, and I'm going to stay super aggressive, because that's the only way you compete at that level, is be more aggressive than you can possibly be, and attack them at their best, because they're very, very good.
Should be a couple compelling games this weekend, both of them on the road too, away from the friendly confines of the U Gym, and we'll have those both for you on IUHoosiers.com. Tune in and check those out. I will be broadcasting those live on the road both times. Coach, thanks for sticking with us. Another good week, another good coaching show.
Thank you.
Rock and roll. That'll be it for us. For Sherry Dunbar, Pierce Cavanaugh saying so long, travel well, till we meet again. Thanks for watching.